Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Spark. This is a special episode because I'm filming it on Monday, which is the day of the eclipse. So this month I wanted to work with sprays and I wanted to show some techniques for like masking off an area or doing some stenciling with sprays. So this is perfect. I'm going to do a double page spread in my 100-day project journal. So they'll be small. But I'm going to do one for the new moon, which is also today, and one for the eclipse. So the dates will be for today's and tomorrow's days in the book. But I want to try two different ways of masking off that circle for either the new moon or the eclipse. And we're going to go ahead and turn the camera around and get started on that. If you want to see more art journaling techniques, if you want to listen to my dog whisper whine in the background when I'm talking, then please feel free to like the channel and subscribe. And as always, I love seeing a comment below, either on this content or other things that you'd like to see for these art journaling weekly sparks. For right now, let me grab some sprays and turn the camera around, and I'll also show you my desk covering procedure because the sprays get so messy. Okay, so I pulled the camera back so that you could see the full arrangement of my desk and my tiny little journal. The pages are 5-inch square. So I will, of course, zoom in when I start the technique, but let me show you some of the cover-up that happens if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of spraying. I really like these Tyvek envelopes from the USPS because you can grab a couple. They're in the lobby. Technically, they're what we would call free. But Tyvek really soaks up any water-based medium really, really well. And then I love having these later for collage fodder. I mean, there's some just amazing layering and pattern going on here. I also like that they're really malleable and flexible, so that works well for covering things up. All right, this other side, I'm going to cut out a circle with this cardstock, so I'll use the rest of the cardstock to cover up the other side. So let me zoom back in so you can, have a more up-close, personal view of what's going on. Okay, so I think on one side, I'm actually going to use this tin as my mask. This is a beautiful, beautiful watercolor graphite with a lot of shimmer to it that I got in London at Corneliusson and Sons, which is, like this historic art supply store that the Impressionists used to shop at. But because that's heavy, that's going to sit still and I'll be able to spritz around it. I will have to clean the tin off when I'm done because it's going to be covered in schmutz. The next thing I want to do is actually cut out this size circle. It's approximately the same size as the tin. Just a, circle template from the office supply store. And I want the circle. So I'm not going to poke a hole to cut the circle out because no, I want the circle. You can mask off a shape with masking tape as well, but I find that trying to do a curved edge in masking tape can be a bit tedious, especially this small. I cut that out carefully because then I still have this that I can use as a different spray mask. Right? Okay. So what I want to try on this is I want to stick it down with a nice big pillow of tape, because I want to see if it floats a little bit, right? You can see this edge lifting up. I want to see if it floats a little bit if I get a softer boundary line on my mask. This should give me a nice sharp line, unless some of my watery sprays seep under, so that we'll see about that. Maybe this will give me a more diffused line. So for my sprays, I have some of my liquid watercolor. I have some watercolor sprays that I've made. I have some distress sprays and one ink spray in slate gray, which should be really nice. So blues and purples to, blacks and really dark indigos. So I think I want to start lighter around the eclipse or moon and then intensify the color as we go out. I'm already seeing that I have to allow for the thickness of this because I'm going to have to spray from different sides. I'm also already covered in stuff. This is really wet, and I don't want to break down the structural integrity of my book. So I want to get some drying on this pretty quickly. All right. Pretty good, pretty solid line, a little seepage. Getting this cleaned off before it really dries and sets. So that's not a mess for later. All right, so that's maybe a little less precise than I thought it was going to be because we did have some water, we did have a little seepage. And that gave us a tiny bit of soft edge over there, but pretty firm over here. And I think most of my spraying was coming from this right side, so a little of it seeped inside. All right, these are my, little spots that I'll touch up there with some of the same paint that was, left around. You can see how that's going to be really nice to use in something later. And this is what I was trying to avoid by drying it so quickly. A lot of seepage down into the book. It doesn't bother me because by the time I'm done with this book, it's going to have a lot of love and marks and evidence of work being worked in. But I just want to keep the book from falling apart. So I was trying to get that moisture out. Okay, so at this point, I'm actually not going to do the eclipse portion right now because I want to wait and see what I can actually see. I'm going to be at about 88% totality, and so I do have glasses so I can view the eclipse safely. So I'm hoping for dark and then a really fiery orange where there is a sliver of sun still showing since I won't be in totality. This one is going to be dark moon. I'd say let's use some of this graphite that was so yummy and a part of this kind of process. So that's pretty nice and dark. Now let's just give it some craters and some moon texture instead of brush stroke. And that works well for me. Whoops. Fix my typo there. I hope I remembered correctly that it's the new moon in Aries. Well, as to sprays and as to masking, I am going to do more with that in another video, working on top of a collage page and then using a stencil and masking to use some sprays to kind of enhance whatever collage base is down there. So stay tuned for more, but I think that you can clearly see here there is some really delicious texture that you get from these sprays that you just don't get any other way. I mean, all this kind of speckly microscopic white of the page showing through, some splashes of color, black or blue or purple, really subtle variations and changes. So overall, I'm really happy with that. It was as fast as you saw. I didn't speed up any part of this video, and I like the results. So, thank you for tuning into this Eclipse episode of Weekly Spark. Stay tuned. I will add a little clip at the end when I finish this page after 3:30, I think, this afternoon for me.